I don't know how to try this case, Your Honor. Imagine sitting in a courtroom and hearing the lawyer who you are paying say, I don't know how to try this case, Your Honor. Donald Trump heard his lawyer say that in the opening minutes of the case of E. Jean Carroll versus Donald J. Trump in federal court today in New York. Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan had ruled against the Trump lawyers in a series of objections with quick one-word rulings, overruled repeatedly. When every one of the Trump lawyers' pretrial objections was overruled, attorney Alina Habba said, I don't know how to try this case, Your Honor, to which the judge said, I have heard you, I have considered what you have to say, and I have ruled. That's it. In my courtroom, when the ruling is made, that is the end, not the beginning of argument. And that leaves Alina Habba as the current frontrunner for worst Trump lawyer to appear in court so far. Here's how it went when attorney Habba asked to not have a trial session on Thursday of this week so that Donald Trump could attend his third mother-in-law's funeral. Ms. Habba, we are asking again, Your Honor, for a brief one-day adjournment so my client can be here, just like he flew at the wee hours of the night to be here today. The court, you said you're asking again for a brief one-day adjournment. That is the first time you've done that, notwithstanding statements made elsewhere. Ms. Habba, that's not true, Your Honor. The court, to the contrary, you asked me for a week's adjournment. I denied it. Then the judge said, I am not stopping him from being there. Donald Trump is not required to be in the courtroom at any time. He could go to the funeral, and he proved that to everyone today by leaving during the afternoon session and flying to New Hampshire while the court was still conducting a session. He could do the same thing on Thursday if he cares about his third mother-in-law's funeral as much as he cares about winning votes in New Hampshire. After assembling a civil jury of 9 members, Judge Kaplan explained that their job is only to decide how much money Donald Trump should pay E. Jean Carroll for defamation. The judge told the jury, the very first thing you need to know about this case is that, as I mentioned very briefly earlier, there have been previous proceedings relating to these events, including a previous jury trial. The jury in that case and other proceedings in this court already have determined some of the key facts about this dispute. Those facts that were definitively decided in the previous trial include the following. First, Mr. Trump, in fact, sexually abused Ms. Carroll by forcibly and without her consent inserting his fingers into her vagina. Second, Mr. Trump's June 21st and June 22nd statements were false. Ms. Carroll did not make up her claim of forcible sexual abuse. Third, Mr. Trump's June 21st and June 22nd, 2019 statements were defamatory. Mr. Trump when he made his statements, he knew that they were false. In her opening statement on behalf of E. Jean Carroll, attorney Sean Crowley told the jury, quote, you'll be asked to decide how much money Donald Trump should have to pay for what he's done. You'll also need to decide how much money he should pay to get him to stop doing it again. You'll hear how Donald Trump's defamatory lies about Ms. Carroll unleashed his followers to go after her online, to attack her character, to threaten her life. You'll see messages where people tell Ms. Carroll that she should go to jail, promising that they would rape her, threatening that she should die, all because she had the courage to speak out about what Donald Trump had done to her. Attorney Crowley pointed out that Donald Trump continues to publicly attack E. Jean Carroll, and without asking the jury for a specific amount of money, she did say, quote, we submit that the number should be significant, very significant. Donald Trump, after all, is a self-proclaimed billionaire. Attorney Crowley ended her opening statement with this. Members of the jury, it's time to tell Donald Trump that this is wrong. It's time to hold him accountable. It's time to show him that in our system of justice, no one is above the law, not even former presidents or real estate tycoons or billionaires. 25 years after sexually assaulting Ms. Carroll, Donald Trump defamed her for speaking up, and then he did it again and again. He keeps doing it even now. It's time to make him stop. It's time to make him pay clearly for what he's done, to pay enough to convince him once and for all not to do it again. In her opening statement to the jury, defending Donald Trump's lies about E. Jean Carroll, Alina Habba said that E. Jean Carroll, quote, is looking for you to give her a windfall because some people on social media said mean things about her. The judge had to stop Attorney Habba when she misstated the law and made other mistakes in her blatantly incompetent opening statement. In her last words to the jury, Attorney Habba said that the death threats Donald Trump's followers have issued to E. Jean Carroll are a normal thing. That was her phrase. Attorney Habba told the jury the negative backlash that she purportedly suffered is simply a byproduct of a digital age and social media. When you put a story out, you will receive backlash. It's a normal thing that happens. But she wants you to pay and is claiming it's all because of his two statements.